Here we have the foundation, and here we have a piece of wood called the mud sill. We want to make sure when the earthquake forces strike that the mud sill does not slide off the foundation. At the same time, we want to make sure this end joist does not slide on the top of the mud sill. Now, the building code has a very serious deficiency. What it says is that the end joist can be attached to the mud sill with just 3 nails, and that is clearly insufficient. On this house, this would be the foundation right here. The top of the foundation was right here, and then the floor framing, the floor joist that we just looked at was sitting on top of it. And what happened is when the earthquake force went this way, the house went with it. This is another house where the exact same thing happened. Right here is the foundation. Right here is the floor framing, and in the earthquake, when it went this way, the house went with it. This one, it's a little easier to see what happened. This is the foundation. This is the mud sill, which is the piece of wood that sits on the foundation. And right here is the floor framing, the floor joist that we looked at. And this earthquake was large enough and it lasted long enough to knock the house off the foundation. Here you can see the exact same problem. This is the foundation along here. This is where the floor framing is, the floor joist that we look at, and it's obviously cracked right here because the floor is trying to slide off the foundation. This is a photograph, the exact same thing. As the earthquake tried to push the house off the foundation, which is located right here, it would have pushed the house off the foundation if the earthquake had lasted long enough. This house is from Ferndale, California in the 1992 earthquake. I was actually an inspector for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and I actually saw this house myself. So what happened here, as you can see, is the foundation, which would be right along here. The house slid off. So the question is, what do we do about it? This is a very serious deficiency in the building code, and it still exists. So let me show you what happens when these houses are damaged. Let's look at a real house right now. So here you can see this house was bolted. So it's got a nice bolt here, it's got a nice bolt here. They're very close together. But because this end joist right here wasn't attached to the mud sill, and the mud sill runs all the way along here, and then it runs all the way along here, because it's not attached, it just slid right off the mud sill. So that is the big problem, and that's something that we really want to guard against to make sure that you can save your house. So this is what we do. This is an image here of the there's the end joist, there's the mud sill. We want to make sure they stay together because, as shown here in this arrow, earthquake forces come this way, they push on the end joist, but it's just sitting there on the mud sill with just a couple nails, so it's going to slide off. So what we do, we install something called shear transfer ties. Those are pieces of metal, and that way when the earthquake force comes this way, that metal has attached the end joist to this mud sill right here, and we end up keeping the floor from sliding off the foundation. So that's what the shear transfer ties do.